we wanted to play with all the usual archetypes of music, merchandising and image and so on. So we started to think about how were we going to package this idea? How are we going to make it look? What's it going to be about? And that's when lyrics started to come in, for example, was the others, by default, we became the vocalists because the others just absolutely refused. And the very first song we ever wrote was called Very Friendly, because we'd just been reading this book about the Moors murderers. And it reminded me that as a kid in Manchester, it was when those murders were happening that suddenly my childhood was changed. We weren't allowed to go out at night. We had to lock the doors, and people always wanted to know where you were and all this other stuff. Before that, you'd just go out and ride around on your bike and come back when you wanted. And it was because of the murders, but we didn't realize at the time. So it had a big impact on my life, and so we did a song about it, which had a chorus of Ian Brady and Myra Hindley, very friendly. And that was one of the other things that we were talking about influences before. One of the influences in terms of lyrics was definitely the Velvet Underground. The way that they took New York street life and sort of alternative street life and made their diary form into the lyrics. And we thought maybe we can stretch that even further and look at the darkest side of everyday life and the taboo elements of human behavior, in a sense to become journalists and actually work as a sort of electric newspaper, but an electric newspaper that dealt with all the aspects of human behavior that we're ashamed of or that hold us back from a more positive evolution. So it was a 60s motive with a darker, more cynical texture, if you like. And one of the things that Throbbing Gristle's definitely done, and industrial music in general has continued, was the liberation, the final complete liberation of the lyric in terms of subject matter. TG basically were the people who waved the banner and said, you can actually talk about anything that interests you or obsesses you. It's all up for grabs. Nothing should be excluded from the musician or the artist. Everything is raw material to be investigated. That was one of the big breakthroughs of TG, in terms of the lyrics, certainly. So we started to wear camouflage, and we did that because we loved the idea of clothing that was designed to be just as functional if it was filthy, that it was absolutely functional clothing, and it was meant to make you disappear. It had all these strange ambiguities to it when you really thought about it. Clothing that's meant to make you invisible and disappear, and has all these pockets for things to be put in, so you can carry your cassette decks and all these other things, these gadgets, so that you can be recording reality to use the reality later in the music. So it had all these nice sort of meanings in it. And we had the symbol, which we took originally from a sign that we saw on the railway tracks that said danger high voltage, and there was this lightning flash. And we thought that was pretty funny because we were doing electronic based music, so the idea of it being dangerous because it was high voltage seemed fun. And as well as that, from the 60s, we used to write these manifestos at university for money. We used to write them for the right-wing groups and for the communists and for the anarchists. We'd write one manifesto one week and then write one the next week contradicting it and attacking it. So red and black in the political tradition, red is for the extreme left and black is for the extreme right, and red and black together are for anarchy. As the French say, les extrêmes se touchent. The extremes are the same as each other. So we put the lightning bolt across the red and black to say it's all bullshit. All politics should just be blown up. It's all bullshit. Of course, we didn't realize how ill-informed many journalists are, and they immediately said, oh, they're Nazis because it's red and black and it's got a lightning bolt. And I'm like, no, it's not that at all. It's about short-circuiting control. It's about making it shatter. That's why it cuts it through. But that was an argument that still goes on with the industrial music scene, that the fact that industrial music deals with subject matter that's not always pleasant tends to be a reason that people who are afraid of the truth try and dismiss it by just saying it's gratuitous. Sometimes it's gratuitous, obviously, but it's not always gratuitous, and it's no more gratuitous than the National Enquirer or the New York Post or Jay Leno or David Letterman or the 6 o'clock news, etc. Why are artists not allowed to talk about what's happening when idiots and liars who call themselves journalists have a carte blanche? So that dialogue seems to be going on for decades, and it's obvious that the people who criticize the liberation of content are the people who are the most afraid of the truth. But there you are.